Arbitrary parameters, also considered as variable length parameters, are very useful when we don't know how many number of arguments that we wanted to pass to a specific function. So in this video, we will be discussing completely about how arbitrary parameter works and how we can take the advantages of arbitrary parameters in order to code effectively. So watch the video till the end so that you can able to understand everything about arbitrary parameters. So let's get started. So arbitrary parameters will be very useful when we don't know how many number of parameters to pass a specific function. So to understand clearly, first I will take a function that will be taken a specific parameters. So previously in our videos, we have seen different types of parameters, right? We have seen positional parameters, we have seen default parameters, we have seen keyword parameters. So we will be taking the positional parameters and understand this example. So for that reason, I am taking I am defining a function, and this function will add some numbers. So for the time being, I will be taking num1 and num2. So what this function do is that it will add two numbers here. So now if I just add, if I make this sum, and I will add num1 plus num2 here. So I am adding num1 and num2, and I am just return this sum here. So when we call this function, we will be getting the sum of these two numbers, right? So that is what we will be expecting. So now if I call this function, let's say with 2 and 5 here, and if I execute this, we are getting the result which is 7. That is quietly what we have expected, right? So after that, let's say if I wanted to add three numbers here, in such case, if I pass, let's say 2, 3, 4 here, and if I execute this, so here we are getting error which is saying add takes two positional arguments but three are given. So what it means is that this function is only works when we pass two arguments here, but when we are passing three arguments, this function is not working. So let's say when we wanted to add three numbers, what we need to do? We need to define one more function, right? So for that reason, I will execute this and I will take one more function here. So here, what I will be doing is that I will take this function as add2, which otherwise means it will add two numbers, and I am calling this add2. This is got executed. So let's say I wanted to add three numbers, right? That is the reason I am taking three here. So I am taking num1, num2, and num3 here. So in this function, what I will be doing is that I am making this sum of num1 plus num2, and num3 here. So I will return this sum. So now if I call this add3, and if I pass, let's say 2, 3, 4 here, and if I execute this, this is working exactly fine when we have three arguments. Let's say if I pass only two arguments for this add3 function, and if I execute this, I am getting an error, add3 missing one required positional argument, which is num3. So when we pass this 2 and 3, this will only mapped with num1 and num2. One argument is missing for num3 here. Let's say if I mention 4 and if I mention 5 here, I am passing 4 arguments here. So now if I execute this, this is again returning a result. Add3 takes three positional arguments, but 4 is given. So like this, we will be facing this kind of a problem whenever we are passing more or less arguments than what is defined in the function. So in this function, it is only defined for two arguments. In this function, it is only defined for three arguments. So when we pass more or less, it won't take and we will get an error. So in such case, what we can do is that when we wanted to pass any parameters, so the function need to take and the function need to be processed and do the process. So in such case, we will be using this arbitrary parameters. So let us go ahead and see how we can use these arbitrary parameters. So for that, to explain you, I will take a function, and the function I will be taking as add. So I'm taking add. So we will be representing the arguments will be taken for this function with this asterisk. So by mentioning this asterisk or star, we will be combining all of those parameters, all of those arguments which is passing when the function is called in terms of a tuple. So what this means is that we will map all the things and we will be getting a single tuple here. So now what I will be doing is that I will take nums here. So after that, So inside of this method, what I will be doing is that I wanted to add all of these numbers that what we are getting. So for that, we have a method which is nothing but sum, right? So we can use this sum method to add how many number of element that we have in a iterable. So here in this case, we will be getting a tuple here. So if I add this nums here, and if I return this, and if I call this particular method with how many number of parameters, that doesn't matter, we can call this. Let's say if I pass 2 3 4 here, if I execute this, we are getting 9, right? So that is what the sum of these three numbers. Let's say if I pass only 2 and 3, still it is working, we are getting 5. Let's say if I pass, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6, so here I am passing 6 arguments here, and if I execute this, still we are getting the result. So by using this argument, by using this asterisk, we can pass how many number of argument that we wanted. It will go as a tuple, and that process will be happen. So in order to let you know what we are getting here, I will just print this nums here, and if I execute this, we are getting the result inside of a tuple, right? So we will be representing the tuple by using these braces. So if I print the type of this particular nums here, and if I execute this, we are getting the type which is nothing but tuple. So by this, what you can able to understand is that whenever we are passing this arguments here, it will be going and calling this particular function with this particular, let's say, arbitrary parameters. How many number of parameters, it doesn't matter. It will go and map all of these parameters into this argument, into this variable, and it is the variable is nothing but a tuple here. So that is what we are getting here, and all the values are present inside of a tuple. So we can perform any operation that we want, as like we can perform the operations in the tuple. So this is tuple, right? Let's say if I wanted to access the element 3 here, and if I print the nums, and by using indexing, we can access the element right inside of a tuple. So here 0 1 2, so in order to access these three element, I need to mention second index, and if I mention 2 here, and if I execute this, we are getting the result which is 3, right? So like this, we can perform any operations that we wanted to perform in the tuple, as like by using this particular asterisk and by mentioning this particular parameters. By this, we can able to get how many number of parameters that user is given. Here in this case, I am giving 6 parameters, right? So by this, we can able to see this, right? We can able to get all of those parameters, and we can able to process everything. So by this, we can overcome the process of creating more number of functions and using all of those functions. So by this, we can able to reduce the code also. So we can avoid the functions which are having specific functions for specific arguments. So I hope you can able to understand that, right? So that's it. So I hope you can able to understand all of these concepts explained in this video. This will be very useful whenever we are using multiple arguments, whenever we are passing multiple arguments here. Let's say if I remove all the arguments, if I just call this particular method, and if I execute this, it is still working, and you can see the result. When we print this particular nums, it is returning an empty tuple, and after that the sum is, which is nothing but 0, because we are not passing any arguments here, right? So I hope you can able to understand how this arbitrary parameters works. So if you found this video interesting, hit the like button and comment whatever you think about this video in the comment section. So in the next video, we will see arbitrary keyword parameters. So that is also one of the important and very useful concepts that we have whenever we are dealing with functions, and whenever we wanted to pass multiple keyword arguments. So that we will see in the next video. To stay updated with my latest videos, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications to all, so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.